inspiring interviews, provocative people. Get ready. Get bold today with your Emmy-winning host, LeGrande Green.
This is the right place. This is the right time. Out with the heartaches and with the clear minds. We got our eyes.
I'm LeGrande Green, and this is Bold. This is the place where we ask you to look at your life and see where shift can happen. My guest today is Steve Horsman, and he is a relationship expert and life coach who you can find at Good Guys 2, number 2, goodguys2greatmen.com. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you so much, LeGrande. Thanks for having me.
Well, Steve, I am so happy to have you here, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to love what you have to say about sex and relationships and how to heal from the trauma of anything you might be going through in your love life. But I like one thing that I read on your site, and you said that you are ex-student, ex-engineer, ex-corporate educator, ex-husband. And with all these X's, I think you have the X factor on how to help us with sexual rejection. And that classic line that, we've all heard and probably said ourselves, not tonight, honey.
Yeah, that's the one. Just the word sexual rejection, it's probably a horrible title for
It's harsh. That's harsh, Steve. Sexual rejection, right? It's like, oh, my God.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to get to the yes. And I ask people, who do you think gets rejected more, men or women, when it comes to asking for physical intimacy? And, of course, everyone, oh, God, men are rejected all the time. Women never say, women can have it any time they want. So men never reject women, which is totally untrue. Now, a much larger percentage of the rejection going on out there in relationships for sex is a woman rejecting a man. But what I want to say today is as much for the woman who is consistently rejected for intimacy as the men are. It applies both ways. And what I want to say today about sexual rejection has a lot to do with not talking about it. It's understanding some of the nuance going on behind the scenes of attraction not being there, and what you can do without having to talk about it. Some of the worst things a man can do when he's getting rejected is want to talk about it. Come on, why can't you have sex with me? Why don't you want it like I do? Why aren't you aroused like I am? Why don't you want me anymore? How good do I have to be? All these questions, they're the most asexual questions in the world, and if you want to turn a woman off even more, start pummeling her with questions, right? So what I tell guys, everyone knows there's causes, real legitimate causes of a libido being
right.
Psychological, emotional, health, just having a big mismatch in libido, having biological clocks or energy differences, a history of being disappointed in the bedroom. It's not pleasurable. I don't orgasm. Boring, low quality sex. And the big one that causes sexual rejection on both sides is just lack of attraction, lack of sexual attraction. And that's what I'd like to talk a little bit about.
When you say, let's delve into that, you're talking about lack of sexual attraction. What are the components? Is that a physical thing, or is there something else going on?
It's what you felt when you were first together. Remember the first part of a relationship when
always
everything was easy? the first 6 months when there was almost nothing you could do or say wrong, everything was funny, everything was attractive, every joke, every innuendo ended up in the sack or the couch or on the kitchen table, right? You're all over the house having sex because trust is high, there's no baggage, there's no feelings of being judged or disappointed. And then what happens 2 or 3 or 4 years later, we forget all that. And one person starts pursuing the other. Normally the man, but I talk to women all the time who are the pursuer, and the other one is the distancer. They're the one now controlling the sexual energy. And the pursuer is the one who is mostly motivated to want to fix this problem. They connect physically. They feel good when they're touching. They get a lot out of the sexual interaction emotionally. And the other person, for whatever reason, is not feeling it anymore. So the question becomes, whose responsibility is this? Should they sit down and have a coffee and talk about it? Well, I can tell you the person who is distancing, the one who's moving away from the sexual energy, wants nothing less than to talk about it.
Talk about it, yes. I've been both of these people, so I'm thinking about when I was a distancer. I don't want to talk about this at all.
Yeah, and because it feels personal, and you feel like you're not understood. You feel like at one time in your life that the person pursuing you knew what you needed to feel sexual and attracted, and the recipe has been lost. And you get a little bit resentful. You get resentful and hurt and angry because they don't get it anymore. And the one thing, I work with the pursuers in this case, because the pursuer has the motivation to fix this. They're going to get the most out of fixing it because they are feeling the most sense of loss.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the distancer in this case would love to have sexual tension again and attraction, they just don't want it with the person pursuing them right now. And so I talked to them about the huge difference between a person who can make them have sex with you and the person who wants to. And the pursuer sometimes forgets the one mantra that is very, very important. Your partner can make themselves have sex with you, but they cannot make themselves want to have sex with you. And once you get that through your head, that it is your job to understand what makes a person aroused, the distancer is having an issue, to become attracted to you, you have to think more deeply than just blaming them for not wanting you or blaming them for not having the same arousal pattern as you do.
Well, let's repeat that, Steve, because that was so much in that one statement about
I tend to do that. Blah blah blah.
It's not about them having sex with you; it's about them wanting.
Yeah, so to repeat that, you cannot make your partner cannot make themselves want to have sex with you. They can certainly, and women do this all the time, women can make themselves have sex with you. And they do that all the time. We call it obligation sex.
Yes,
but they cannot make themselves want to have sex with you. But as a pursuer, you can make yourself be the kind of person the other person needs to feel attraction toward you. So that's why the pursuer has the responsibility. And there's many other things that a guy can do that puts her in that mindset that you are losing the recipe, sweetheart, on what made me attracted to you to begin with. Because when you don't know how to accept a no, when you're so needy about it, when you call me a non-sexual woman and you think I'm being a bitch, when you act ugly and take it personally, like I owe you sex, when you think every time I say no that divorce is imminent, all of those things make you a much less attractive partner to me, and I can't make myself want you when you act like that. So back to my point, who has the most power here to change? Can she make herself want you, or can you make yourself be a partner that she has no choice but to want when you act correctly?
Very key point, and I remember, this is actually a true story, a male friend of mine was talking about why he divorced his wife, and this really happened. He said, you know what, during our whole marriage, she turned me down 732 times. I went, you counted? And how do you get to 732? I mean, it was just like, if I was counting, okay, I would have to talk about it before, like 7, but 732 times?
Right. Did you see the guy on the internet who went viral? He had a spreadsheet, and he tracked the times and the reasons that she gave for not wanting sex for a whole year, and he published it. No, she found it, and she published it.
What? Oh, I've got to look that up. I mean, are they still together?
I don't know. I don't know how it turned out. But every guy coach that I work with looked at that, and we just looked, roll our eyes. He is being the guy that no woman wants to have sex with.
Well, yeah.
And not let alone his wife of 20 years, he's being the man that no woman wants to have sex with. And when we're talking about attraction and sexuality, so many men think that sexual technique and sexual frequency and all that stuff is what women are really interested in. They think they have to know how to do certain things to have a great sex life. What they refuse to understand is that it's not what you do to have sex, it's who you're being. And that's what women feel. They know exactly who you are being, and they're not interested in what you do.
and how you do it, right? It's just, it's what's being communicated, what's being felt. Because I know as I've grown older, I've come to regard sex as the most holy form of communication. It's the perfect form of communication when you're open. And that has nothing to do with frequency. Although, having good sex all the time is great.
High quality sex, yeah.
And I've talked to some couples, heterosexual couples, specifically, who have a schedule. And I have one female friend who tells me, well, she never tells her husband no. She just gives it to him whenever he wants it. And I thought, well, that's not good either. She was saying the obligation part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there's a lot of coaches will say, women's coaches will say, if you're not in the mood, but you love this man, you respect this man, you want to build a life with this man for the next 50 years, and you know you could enjoy being sexual without orgasming yourself, and you can pleasure him, you should choose to do that. And I would agree with that if it's your choice. But if your real deepest desire is to say, no, I really would not enjoy that now, you must feel comfortable as a woman saying that and being able to expect a very masculine, mature response back that doesn't make you feel like crap. But yes, by all means, even men, when you don't feel like having sex and you're approached by your woman and she's really ready for it, step up. If you can do it.
Yeah, we often don't think of men that way. We don't think men only want to do it when they want to do it, but that works both ways.
Oh, I know many men who are just too tired and she's like climbing the walls wanting him, and he's just, some of it's depression related, but a lot of it's just energy. And so what do? You work out a little bit maybe. Do whatever you need to do to get your energy level up to be able to show your wife the passion she wants from you. It goes both ways.
Well, and Steve, like I said, you can find Steve at his great website, Good Guys to Great Men, and that's the number 2, goodguys2greatmen.com. And at that site, Steve, I know that our listeners can find 2 free ebooks from you, or 2 free books. One is the 5 Secrets of an Unhappy Wife, and the other one that we're talking about today is Sexual Rejection, the 7 Hard Truths Every Woman Wishes She Knew. I know we covered some of that today. Is there any other tip you want to give us about sexual rejection that women specifically can look into? I coach women too, and I have a different website for them I could talk to you about later, but I think there's so much in the feminine energy that creates the desire in a man to step up and be more mature with the way he's dealing with rejection. Women have an unbelievable power to get into a guy's head and inspire him to get out of the 13-year-old boy mind that makes him pouty and resentful when he's not getting the intimacy he wants. There are ways to talk to him and things to say to him that will change him into the man that she's wishing he was, the guy in the novel, for instance. So, yeah, that's what I would offer to women, is to check out my other site, whatswithhim.com, and contact me just to talk about that, because too many women underestimate how much influence and power they have to change the way a man thinks. Well, and like you said, getting in touch with that and understanding that emotion. I was just reading a blog recently, and it was also about how the man can make the woman feel. And it was very, very pithy, but it was saying the 3 most powerful words for a woman to hear, the 3 sexiest words for a woman to hear, was not "I love you," was "I got this."
I got this.
I got this. I love that. I got this, honey. I got it.
This. I got this. The Western version is "I got your back, cupcake." Yeah, I got this. So good. And it's not meant to be bravado. You're not supposed to be the superhero.
Right.
It is just, I got this. I'm accountable. You can rely on me. Nothing gets women more attracted than a guy they can count on. I'll tell you that.
Well, and that's what you're saying about the sexual rejection and sexual accountability. I think this key piece that I'm hearing that I've not really heard before is about how to respond to the no and how you choose to respond. It's not even necessarily about you per se sometimes. It's just about the timing and all that. And if we can have a more mature attitude about this topic of quote-unquote sexual rejection, relationships can really kind of grow from that point.
Yeah, it allows her room to trust and to grow. I love the way you said that. You can choose the way you respond. I love that because it starts with the way you think about rejection. And with the way you think being correct, you will always say the right thing and feel the right thing. And it's so important to get your thoughts right about what rejection really means instead of taking it too personally.
I picked up some tips today too, as you were talking about. You know, you don't have to go into for instance, for guys, the 13-year-old pouty mind. You know.
Yeah, right. And we all do. I mean, you and I can admit it, right? We got that in us.
Well, yeah, because you want what you want when you want it. But I mean, right. I'm thinking about that whole, stamping your foot,
right?
And then you go retreating. It's like, okay, this is another good way of looking at it. This is. It's not. It might be happening to you, but it's not about you,
or because of you. Yeah,
because of you. So I think that's very powerful stuff. So we want people to go to your website, Steve, and find out these tips on how to deal with sexual rejection, which are really about empowering your relationship. What else can we find at your site, Good Guys to Great Men?
Good Guys to Great Men, you'll find a whole blog section with a lot of different articles. Spanning the globe of male masculinity. One of my programs is a masculinity tune-up, and this gets into a whole discussion of, wait a minute, what do you mean masculine and feminine? What I'm talking about in a very short way, when a woman is sexually attracted to a man and she desires to be with him in his presence, she is feeling something. Her feelings are attracted to this otherness, this polarity of maleness. That's what I work with guys about in the masculinity tune-up, is talking about how to create those feelings in a woman by being the man you want to be. Not to get laid, that's pickup artist stuff. So my site is not about pickup artistry. It's about dating your wife again. It's about being the guy you want to be so she can feel attracted to you.
I love that. But like you said, if you're doing all that, even if you're a single person, you will find the mate because you're exuding that energy of openness. I think what you're doing is so very powerful, Stephen, about approaching masculinity from a 21st century perspective.
Yeah, it goes both ways, and we all have different parts of it, but it's when you're in a relationship, I always say this, when you're in a relationship, it's 9 p.m. and you're feeling like crap, you know you're going to go to bed, and you're going to wake up mad again. These are the people I work with. I don't get caught too much.
That's basically everybody.
yeah, but I can't, with that reality, with those two people in front of me, I can't talk about the way things should be, right? The way, if everything was perfect, the way the world should be with men and women, with equality and non-gender essentialism and all that. We have to go with what you got, right?
Very powerful stuff, and we invite you all to go visit Steve's site. And can people go there and also enlist you as a personal coach?
Absolutely, yeah. Contacts, an annoying contact screen will pop up and ask me anything. But one of the things I enjoy most is just an introductory conversation to get right into coaching right away, right into your issues, and have people feel what it is like to be on the phone with somebody who actually hears you and feels you and has been in your shoes. I love that. I love email conversations, just getting into it. I comment probably way too much on other people's websites because the conversation is where it starts, having a talk and trusting somebody to listen to you.
And that's what we're about here at Bold, and we're so pleased, Steve, you could join us today for this conversation. So thank you for appearing on Bold, and he's going to be back, folks. He'll be back.
Thanks so much, LeGrande.
If you like what you've heard today, join the conversation at getboldtoday.com. Like us, tweet us at GetBoldToday. And this is the place, we always like to say this, where we look at people who are inspiring us to live, laugh, and love out loud. And Steve Horsman is certainly a perfect example of that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, LeGrande.
Thank you. Remember, folks, shift happens right where you are. Be the change. And get bold today.
Credit card debt was kicking my butt. Filing for bankruptcy was not for me. I spoke with those debt consolidation people who only wanted me to keep the debt I had for what seemed like a century. A friend said, "Your debt destroyed." I said, what? They said, your debt destroyed. They said, contact Sharon at Your Debt Destroyed and let her team of experts eliminate your debt while building up your credit worthiness. I contacted Sharon, and she put her team to work to destroy my debt with a plan that was easy to follow and gave me and my family peace of mind. Don't consolidate your debt, eliminate your debt. Contact Sharon at yourdebtdestroyed.com or call her at 888-431-2829, extension 2.
Inspiring interviews, provocative people. Get ready, get bold today with your Emmy-winning host, LeGrande Green.
This is the right place, this is the right time. Out with the heartaches and with the clear minds, we got our eyes set on it.
Today's guest is Yolanda Ross, and she's an actress, producer, writer. Yolanda Ross does everything. And you can find her at Yolanda Ross. That's YOLONDA Ross.com. And Yolanda, welcome to Bold.
Well, hello.
Well, hello, Yolanda Ross. Well, I just want to run down some of your credits. You've been in movies with Woody Allen, Denzel Washington. We know you best from Treme, where you played a documentarian. And now you're playing Whitney Houston's best friend in the Angela Bassett-directed movie Whitney, coming out January 17th on Lifetime.
Yes.
You play her best friend, Robin Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet Robin for any of this, or it was all based on...
No. Robin keeps a really low profile. There was very little to even find on her. Because I didn't, I knew of her over the years, but I never even knew what she looked like. So, there was a bit of, scouting to find pictures, just to maybe even see what she sounded like, things like that, just for my own personal research for the character.
I watched the screener for this movie, and I was quite impressed. Because I will be very honest, Yolanda, I was expecting not to like it. I went, oh, well, what's this going to be?
Really?
Well, yeah. I was not.
Don't be a hater.
Listen, Yolanda, my background is in television. I worked for the Oprah Winfrey Show for many, many, many years. I actually talked to Robin quite a few times.
Really? Okay, now I'm envious.
Yes, as a producer, we were trying to get Whitney Houston on the show, and actually I booked a show that Whitney came on much later when she was doing Waiting to Excel. But when I was a young producer or starting producer at Oprah, I was calling Robin once a month to see where Whitney's schedule was. So I actually talked to her, and she was quite funny. But also, as you portrayed her in the movie, and I get it now more, very guarded. Very, very guarded with Whitney, or Nippy, as she's known as in her family. And the thing about the movie that I really thought was so profound, besides Yaya's performance and her connection with Bobby Brown, they really humanized that in such a beautiful way. That this was a relationship. This was not the bad boy versus the queen or whatever the media wanted to paint it out. These were two real people.
Yeah, exactly. Two real people. And all of these people are real people, and that's one thing I think people, you got to remember. Yeah, Whitney was Whitney, the icon, but Whitney was, the person from Jersey, she started somewhere and went even further up. It's like people are people. People have feelings. People have certain things that they come with, and they just are themselves.
I loved a lot about the movie. And like I said, Yolanda as Robin, you're the second face you see on the screen. It starts off with a shot of Whitney, and then there's Robin right beside her, her rock. Yeah. So that's who you're playing. And, I know Robin was, I don't know if she was openly gay, but I know that's what it was always reported Robin's a lesbian and this and that. And they were trying to make so much out of her relationship with Whitney, which we don't know, and it doesn't even matter. They were very close friends. And
exactly.
That's what is portrayed in the movie. But I think there were some things in the movie. Do you know the most shocking thing in the movie, Yolanda, for me?
What was it?
It's going to sound so strange. Well, first of all, Angela tackles the drug use head on, and so we see that Whitney was already using beforehand. Before she met Bobby, she was already dabbling, and there was already, from reports, already a problem before it became this huge thing much later. So that was shown very, very, very straight. What was so funny? The most shocking thing was when the scene where she and Bobby are making love for the first time. Like, Whitney Houston has sex?
Yep, wait. I don't even want to. I was like, what?
Yeah. That tells you something. I'm like, of course she had sex, but it was so disconcerting. I was like, oh my God, she.
But okay, but even that reaction, it's like,
I know.
Yeah, famous people, iconic people don't have sex. I mean, people have everything.
That tells you the image of it's. I had to examine myself, like, oh my goodness, what are you having this reaction to her having sex with Bobby Brown? I went, because you bought into the imagery and you know better. And so, it's a woman. And that's what I think Angela gets across, is you all get across in the movie so well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some really beautiful moments and just real moments, and I do, applaud Angela for that. And, Lifetime for just making sure they just keep it real, because I personally don't like watching things or reading things that are just, whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when there's stuff that happened and then you don't read it or you don't see it, it's like, so what are you selling me here? Like, this is not, this isn't real. I am very much, I like real, whether it's dark, whether it's whatever it is, as long as it's accurate,
Well, it is real. I don't want to get rid of the plot of the movie. I mean, it's obviously Whitney Houston's life, but I don't want to get rid of the plot points. But I will say to people that the way things are portrayed there, it's light, it's dark. It's like you said, things happen. Something very funny can happen, and something very tragic can happen in the very next second. And it all is very much in line with our lives. We all go through stuff. We all go through stuff.
Exactly. So let's just keep it that way, Don't make it something that it's not. To just, further confuse people.
And so you mentioned, in playing Robin, you had to really dig for information and really look for stuff, had to pull what was from the page and take Angela's direction. What did you learn personally? What did you take away from that role, Yolanda, of playing Robin Crawford?
Well, I mean, in playing Robin, she reminded me, their relationship, what was there in the film, reminded me of being with my best friend. And, it's being in those intimate moments that are your moments, you and this person's moments in time, with your friendship and all the ups and downs it can go through. Because, you got to remember, these two women knew each other as teenagers.
Yeah.
And grew up together and grew through this time period together. It's like you really had to go through her to get to Whitney. And, I don't know, I can't say, but who knows if they would have kept together as far as working together, if she could have helped her, stay away from it or keep it.
That's what I like it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, it's like, whether they were lovers or not, that's not known, but it's like that friendship, that respect, that, love for each other was there, period.
The love is definitely portrayed. The movie, doesn't answer any questions. It just presents the friendship, and people will draw whatever they want from that. But I love a line. I think it maybe is one of the first lines in the movie where she turns to you as Robin and she says, Whitney says, "Time to be Whitney Houston."
Yeah, and she was very aware of who she was. That's one thing I've said in other interviews when people ask me what did you learn about Whitney. Whitney was not weak. We may feel that because of that what you said, how the business kind of put how her life ended and all her giving you the feeling like maybe she gave in or and just, to drugs and whatever, that happens to a lot of people, period.
Yeah.
But for you to even make it through that business or into that business, you cannot be weak. You can't. You have to be strong. And she knew who she was. She knew who Whitney Houston was, and she knew who Nippy was. So it was like, she knew what she had to do as an entertainer to keep up the Whitney, to keep fans happy, because fans are your business.
And you said the very good Nippy versus Whitney. Nippy, of course, is Whitney. Whitney is Nippy. But that was her name as a child, and she's known as Nippy in her family circles and friend circles. Mm-hmm. And I do think, like in the movie, and from her own life, like you said, there's that constant battle back and forth. And I love what you said about her being very, very shrewd. Because she was. And there's a scene in the movie she's with Clive Davis, the famous Clive Davis, who's engineered so many superstars' careers. And he's trying to tell her this is what he wants. And she's like, okay, yeah, but,
I am still so jealous of you. You actually got to talk with Robin.
Yes, I talked to her quite a few times.
Meet her. It's like such a crazy thing, playing somebody and knowing that person is so private. It's like I just want to say hello, like face to face, and just
But she's an enigma. I thought she played. I mean, I've never met her in person. Mm-hmm. I only talked to her on the phone, and what you portrayed is what I felt from her. And she was very funny though, very, very funny. Because I know we had a kind of a good rapport, because basically it was me calling once a month and her saying no. But I kept calling. I'm like, I want to get Whitney Houston on. And this was before The Bodyguard. This was like early 90s.
Oh, wow. Dang.
And what I'm reading now, I didn't realize that, like I said, I didn't know that Whitney had a drug issue before in the 80s, which, you portrayed in the movie. But so I didn't know that there were issues going on. So she was extremely protective in that way, too. So, the whole story of Clive Davis shaping her. And I remember, too, when Whitney first came out, there were a lot of people saying that she's too white. She sounds too white. Her music's too white. So she got a lot of criticism for being this major pop diva. But if you look back at it, it was a shrewd decision, and she could have done all that she wanted to do. She had to establish that first. So, it's all business. It's a business.
Clive know how to make a star.
Yeah, it's a business. It's a business. And so I think when he was so successful at it, I think that's where the dichotomy comes, because you have the Whitney Houston and you have Nippy, and so like I said, for someone like me who knows better and is shocked to see her have sex, it's because of that whole imagery,
You are still killing me with that.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked by the drugs. It was like, oh my god, and Yaya, who's the actor who played Bobby Brown?
But wait, you really cracked me up. It's all right, she does drugs, but she can't.
Yeah, but I was like, no, the way it was portrayed, which was very natural, is what I was saying. And maybe it's just me, but I don't think I'm going to be the only person to have that reaction.
No, you probably won't be.
I do find that fascinating, Yolanda, as we talk about this, because we all, we're all actors in our own right. What we show up, what people see on the outside. Like you just alluded to it. That's not anywhere near the totality of that person. That's just what you see.
Yeah, no, exactly. And what you see at one point might not be what that person is like in a whole different setting. So it's very interesting, because we do shut people down rather quickly. We make judgments very quickly. Just for our own good sometimes, but we do it, and it can be very hurtful in a lot of instances if you don't have the time or get to know, a person or people.
Absolutely, and so you get to do that as an actress, and a very, very busy actress, Yolanda.
Well, I'm trying to be busy. I'm trying to stay busy.
Very, very busy actress.
So that I can continue talking to you. Shoot.
And pay them bills. Hello. Get that going, Yolanda. Well, I know you have several films slated for this year, for 2015. You got the indie drama Meadowlands with Olivia Wilde. You have Lila and Eve.
Lila and Eve with Viola Davis and Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez with J-Lo and Viola Davis, who is kicking
what?
butt.
Yes.
She's kicking butt on that show, How to Get Away with Murder. Oh, my God. Viola Davis has always been a phenomenal actress, but that role she has on that show is really showing, like you just said, the many facets of a person. So
no, exactly. You know, I can't even tell you how happy I am for her with this show, because it's like I've known her for a little while, but, you know, when you look at a person's body of work, I feel like, you know, the system can sometimes peg you as one thing. So thank you, Shonda Rhimes, for showing this woman, like, all of her. I mean, I can drool over Viola, is all I can say.
Well, Viola she is a phenomenal, and like you said, the system. And let's talk a little bit about that. We'll unpack it just a little bit, because it plays into what we're going to talk about regarding, you know, what happened with Whitney. They do peg black women or different people with different roles, and for so many years in Hollywood, you know, from Hattie McDaniel, you know, Mammy, you know, black women only play the servant or the maid, you know, or the prostitute. You had two choices, prostitute or maid. And that was not.
Or the slave running away.
When they even bothered to do slave movies. But yeah, I know we definitely saw prostitutes or maids, and I know for men you either had to be the pimp or the guy in jail, you know, the criminal, always for many, many years. So finally, you know, we breaking through, and I want to ask you a really basic question.
Okay.
Where did all this passion for creativity come from? I mean, you are doing it all, and I'm so inspired by people who really express themselves in a really bold, profound, positive way, and that's what you're doing.
You know, it's always been there. I mean, I'm really blessed to have the gift of creativity. It really is how I personally work through things, how I grow. It's how I breathe. So, I mean, acting, I'm lucky to be doing right now, because it pretty much encompasses everything, you know, that I do, or using all the, you know, gifts that I have. But, I mean, I've always been creative. It just stimulates me very much.
Well, Yolanda, this has been a wonderful discussion. Before we end here, tell us what's going on with you. You know, the pet project's coming up here soon.
Well, I am working on getting my first feature up. Hopefully, before the year is out, be directing it. And, you know, working on a couple of other things, because I've been writing a lot more. But that's, like, as far as pet projects, that's my thing, getting my feature out.
Getting your feature up and out. So
yes.
This is Yolanda. Yes, this is Yolanda Ross. Once again, that's Yolanda with 2 O's, YOLONDA Ross.com. Where can we find you on social media, Yolanda?
I am my website, my writer, actor, director Facebook page and Twitter are all under Yolanda Ross. And on Instagram, I am Yolanda Ross Creator.
And that's where you can find the fabulous Yolanda Ross. We thank you for coming on Bold today, Yolanda.
So nice speaking with you.
If you like what you heard, join the conversation at getboldtoday.com. That's where we focus on people, places, and things that inspire us to live, laugh, and love out loud. People like Yolanda Ross, who's starring in Whitney, coming to Lifetime on January 17th. Like us, tweet us, Facebook us, Instagram us at GetBoldToday. We close as always. Remember, shift happens right where you are. Be the change and get bold today.
They say, stop creditors from harassing you. Consolidate your credit card debt into a loan. They say, stop those annoying calls. Simply file bankruptcy. They don't say, consolidating credit card debt into a loan keeps you paying on that debt for years and more years with interest. They don't say, file for bankruptcy and say no to a car loan, no
to a mortgage for up to 11 years. Don't file bankruptcy and ruin your credit for years. Don't get a consolidation loan and pay years and years. Get your credit card debt destroyed. Call Sharon, the Debt Destroyer. Sharon and her team of experts work hard to help you eliminate your credit card debt and get you and your credit back on track. No bankruptcy, no loans, your credit card debt eliminated. Have your credit card debt destroyed. Contact Sharon, the Debt Destroyer, at yourdebtdestroyed.com or call 888-431-2829, extension 2.
Inspiring interviews, provocative people. Get ready, get bold today with your Emmy-winning host, LeGrande Green.
This is the right place, this is the right time. Out with the heartaches and with the clear minds, we got our eyes set on it.
I'm LeGrande Green, and this is Bold. We have a very special guest for you today. He is the New York Times best-selling author of one of my favorite book titles and books ever, The Freak Shall Inherit the Earth. He is Chris Brogan. Chris, welcome to Bold.
I feel bolder already. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. So I want to dive right into today's topic, which is your New Year starts now. And with Chris's book, what is a freak? Let's define that.
Freak is someone who has, I would say, a tattoo-level obsession with doing business the way that you want to do it, serving the kinds of people that you intend to serve in the way that you want to help. So it's that rally cry that says that you don't have to fit in anymore. You just have to find where you belong, and that's what matters to me.
And you take a lot of your lessons because what do you see around? This is the time of year that people, number one, are either stuffing ourselves to death, and then come January 1st, we're like, oh my God, I got to lose the weight. So January is a big month for New Year's resolutions, obviously, and it's also a big month for people who don't follow through. So I'm wanting to air this now in December so I can tell people, okay, your New Year starts now. What does Chris Brogan, what are the top tips you have for people to start now for moving forward?
I'll give you one first off that relates to what you just talked about is that, diets and or resolutions, neither one works. They're like willpower. And one of the things I say in my book Freaks is that willpower is stupid. And I never use the word stupid unless I really mean it because I don't like that word. But I would say that the reason I think that is that, people need to really better get to the concept of commitment and discipline. So if you say you're going on a diet, it means you're doing something temporary that you're never going to stick with anyway. If you say that you have willpower, you're halfway to saying you want to do that thing anyway. I'd eat that pile of cheese over there, but I've got willpower and I'm going to stick to it or whatever, which is you're like cheating with your eyes. To me, the thing that's missing, the ingredient that's missing is commitment. Mm-hmm. And commitment to yourself is just the same as if you commit to somebody else. You don't say, I think I'll stay married except for this week. Unless you do, and then that's another whole show. But, the whole concept of if you can stay committed to yourself, if you can stay committed to what you believe is the most important for you, then you're going to do a lot better. So my very first tip is to reprogram your language and not use the words diet, not use the words resolution, but just say, I'm going to make a few simple commitments to myself for the coming year and hopefully forever because it's going to be lifestyle level. And then from there, a lot of new stuff happens. Your brain picks a whole new direction to go in. So let's start there, I guess.
Well, I mean, you've already inspired me, Chris, because I have to be honest here because we do a lot of work here. And I was not going to go to the gym today because I usually go in the morning and say, I'm not going to go today. And I went, when you just said that, I went, nope, that's my commitment to myself. That's my commitment to LeGrande. Go to the gym, LeGrande. go to the gym.
If we're going to get bold, we've got to do it every day. And that's the thing is, what we bring to our next event or our next meeting is the work that we've done over the last bunch of weeks. So you can't just show up with a nicer jacket on and say, oh, look, I lost weight. You have to have done the work to get there on the way.
And I would say that's probably part of the religion of being ourselves. And you had a quote on your Twitter page that I love about it's the irreverent who create religions. So if we can create a religion for ourselves, how great would that be?
No question. And that, the thing is, if you look at a lot of religion, not counting whether or not belief is involved, but the actual mechanics of it are basically little guides that, are supposed to help us figure out how we should carry ourselves around. And most of them say all the same sorts of things. Don't kill anybody, be nice, don't take the other guy's wife. There's all this stuff kind of built into it. And that's because we're all sitting around hoping that someone else will do the work and tell us what to do. But in the absence of that, you could pretty much be your own superhero. You could write yourself a list of top 10 things you should probably do. Probably keep the don'ts to a minimum and keep the do's as the way to look at it, because it's pretty hard to follow a flag of let's not do something as opposed to this is what we believe in.
Right.
So I think that, maybe that's another thing to do is to write your own mini manifesto at this time of year and say, these are the 10 ways that I'm going to really put myself in order. Now, I think 10 sounds like a lot. So if I were to do it at the beginning of every year, since 2006, I've done this practice called My 3 Words. And I use 3 words to guide where I intend to go for the coming year. And that way I try to pack those words with enough interesting explanation that people will go, oh, okay, I get where you're going with that. So for instance, the 3 words that I picked for 2014 were lifestyle, Manchu, and black. And that is black as in get in the black. Manchu is an Okinawan word that means one family, which means that the people that you want to have around you versus the people you're related to by blood. Mm-hmm. And then lifestyle, of course, to deal with your fitness, your health, your everything. And that's how I lived my life. I just made sure that anything I was doing was working on any of those 3 big areas.
Well, I like that. Like I said, I was going to say 10 is a lot. 3 is something that's doable, and you can pattern your brain. You can actually, remap your brain to kind of adapt to that. And it's not too much, but it's about that commitment to ourselves. What else do you have for us in regards of New Year resolutions, like breaking that whole trend?
Another kind of thing that we could look for is a not-to-do list. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing because we think we're supposed to. Keeping up is one. We have to read all this stuff in our industry because we really need to know about our industry. Turns out we really don't. A lot of the information that we pick up is, vaguely interesting. We go, oh, hey, I learned something. But it doesn't change your business. You don't all of a sudden say, everything's better now, right? I mean, there's just a lot of things that we spend our time doing that aren't really benefiting us. So I think a not-to-do list is a really useful way of taking this on, because there's probably a bunch of things that you do every time. For instance, every time I go to write a book is when I think I should clean up my house and organize it.
Because that keeps you away from writing a book.
There you go. It's amazing how many things need doing that have nothing to do with my keyboard the minute I write a book, whereas the rest of my life I'm stuck right next to the keyboard the whole time.
Well, I want to delve back into this Manchu, because I think that's so rich, and that's, you said, it's an Okinawan word. Mm-hmm. When did you first discover it?
There is a documentary, I think it's still available on Netflix, called Happy. And it talked about it wanted to figure out who were the most happy people in the world and where did they live.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
So part of it was, I don't know, Louisiana somewhere, and part of it was India. And then another thing what they found was that there were all these ladies. The place in the world where the most per capita over 100-year-old women was in this part of Okinawa. And what it turned out to be, such as it were, was that these ladies lived longer because they practiced this concept of Manchu, which is that it wasn't just that if somebody, your relative died, so suddenly you have nobody in your life. Everyone took care of everyone else. And so there was always this sense that if your siblings or significant others or whoever vanished in your life, you'd still be taken care of, and that's how they lived longer. And so to me, the concept, as I've put it to my business, is just that with this notion of one family, it's that the people that you serve in your life are the people who will be around you and that you care about, and so that you can grow and be stronger because of it.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That's that whole theory of, I think it was called blue zones, where are the happy people? And that was one of the spots. And I love that you bringing this into your business, Chris, because I know even on your website, I just looked at it, there's a tab for Manchu.
Right.
So that tells me how important that is to you and what you do.
Yeah, it's this idea that a lot of people, I guess, don't necessarily have their heads wrapped around, and I would say that to me, it's the opportunity to understand or go a little deeper with that concept is just that once you figure out people, once you figure out who matters, and once you figure out where you kind of belong, you're going to have a much better experience in life. And we spend a lot of time being around people that make us unhappy. And by the way, happiness isn't the ultimate goal in life. It's amazing how many people think that the target is happy, but we do want to feel like we belong. And so you could be unhappy and belong somewhere. But I would say that the trick of that is that you have to be somewhere where you can also serve. And that's why I have this idea of Manchu, is that it's the people we hope that we could serve.
I love that. It ties also to, there's also, I think it's, I might be confusing my religions, but I think it's a Hindu word or a Buddhist word. It's called seva, S-E-V-A, which I think means service. So you can have love, you can have money, but if you don't have that service piece, that giving back piece, that reciprocity, your life does feel empty. You know, we have to serve. We have to serve.
Right. No, you're right. And I that's the over time, what I've come to sort of distill is that it's important to work from some sort of a mission. And it's important that in most cases that mission be a mission of service. And the people that we know and love that we think are the most successful have that all the way down to their bones. And that's, we always ask these questions. What's their trick? What separates them? How are they so lucky? The real answer is almost always that they're the kinds of people who are in some way or another dedicated to service.
And have chosen something to serve, a vehicle through which to serve, whether it's writing a best-selling book as you've done, whether it's advising people through your website, whether it's starting a simple podcast, like Abode. It's taking that step, one step at a time, and being committed to it. Chris, I'm so happy you're here, because you're such a model for everyone and what you're doing. And we've talked a lot about personal integrity and personal commitment and what you can do. Now, I'd like to spend the last few minutes here talking about, because a lot of people want to make some money in 2015, okay? So if you want to make some money, this is the guy to talk to. But it's not about making the money. It's about the passion behind it. What is your best advice for anyone thinking of starting a business in 2015 or wants to grow what they have now?
Let's start with some, probably the broccoli. The worst thing I could say, you're saying to me, tell me something juicy, and I'm supposed to hold out this delicious cupcake, and I'm like, LeGrande, this broccoli is amazing. But let me start there. The broccoli is that, first off, a lot of us don't really know much about money. We don't really understand it. We just know we don't have as much as we wish we had. There's a great new book by Tony Robbins called Money, and it's all about the lessons that he learned over 4 years interviewing a bunch of people about money. And I have a very, very small part in that same story, because I was on one of his series of videos called The Internet Money Masters. But besides me, he interviewed real people and really smart people.
Real people. Not Chris Brogan.
Grown-ups and stuff. So it's definitely, it was definitely interesting. And so that book, Money, buy that book for yourself. No one's going to buy it for the holidays. It's a crazy book to buy somebody for the holidays. So pick it up yourself. That's one. Number two about money is that most people who are not making money are, first off, afraid of sales, and they haven't really understood what they're selling. And one of those two things is true in most people's lives. You could either be like, I'm not afraid of sales, but you really don't know what you're selling. Or you could be like, I'm so afraid of sales that I don't even know how to approach. If I owned your show and I was not trying to get it onto some network or something like that, the next thing I do is I would look for sponsors who would be wanting to be attached to the concept of bold. So maybe I would get Axe body spray and, a bunch of variety of people that, that aren't exactly 100% the market, but also the kinds of people that your community would appreciate, or Lefroy Scotch, which is, crazy, super smoky, weird tasting Scotch. I'd get them to spend money on Bold and go with a sponsorship model. But that means banging the phones and hitting the email and, asking a lot of people, hey, I do this show that I think you should sponsor for a month, and what you'll get is some more link, love, and juice, and blah, 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 and you have to explain what you get. And that's how money is made. You figure out, what somebody need, how do you make it better, how do you connect people to what they're going to have to get done. And I just wonder, a lot of times when people say they don't have enough money, it's just kind of a deal of, it's usually there's a lot of things underneath that we haven't really dealt with.
Well, yeah, it's money goes everywhere, it attaches to everything, so it is a big subject, but we tend to focus on the physicality of money when actually money is energy. Exactly. Now, I wasn't planning this, but you're talking about sponsors. Our first sponsor, we do have one, which is Live Superfoods. So thank you to Live Superfoods for sponsoring Bold. And, we're spreading the word on Live 365 Radio Network on Old Grumpy Radio now, reaching millions, one listener at a time. And so we're talking to Chris Brogan, and he's inspired us to take Bold further and out there. So, Chris, back to the money again. So first step is figuring out what money means to you and how you can not manipulate it, but really understand it. Because once you understand what that broccoli is, then you can move forward to the rest of the meal. You need a whole relationship with money, just like you need a relationship with anything. And a lot of our relationships with money is still stuck at like 7th grade school dance, where we're on the left side of the gym and the money's on the right side of the gym. And we're talking to all our buddies and being like, see that money over there? and that's most every grown up with money. I've never thought about it that way, Chris. That's pretty funny. Yeah, look at me. Can you look at me? Yeah. And that's what we're doing. I mean, we're at the level of like whistling at the lady going by on the street, as if in the history of humans that woman being whistled at goes, oh, that's who I want. Yes. So I think that, first off, we have to come up with a better definition of success. We have to understand how much money we need. People sometimes say they need $1 million and a year, and then you're saying, oh, what do you want $1 million for? And they say, because I want to pay off my mom's house and pay off my dad's house and do all this. And then you start realizing what they really probably need is, $40,000 or $50,000 a month. Okay, well, that's a lot of money. Now what? And, it's really basic math, but you'll figure that out too. I mean, that's why we get great sponsors like Live Superfoods, where for $8.99 you can get red ape cinnamon organic cinnamon sugar at a 3.5-ounce shaker. Try it today. Live Superfoods. Live. Well, we're in our closing minutes here with Chris Brogan, and of course, this is Bold, so we try to bring you 20 juicy minutes of information and inspiration every day. So, Chris, where can we find you? Of course, you're everywhere, but what's going on for Christmas 2015? What are you promoting? Oh, boy, I am so not ready to talk about it. Because you're not? No, it's so funny because it just happened yesterday. But I'll tell you it's a good time to be around me because you'll see the prototypes of everything that's coming next, and it'll be just as fun. So what I'm working on is how do I help people figure out there's a lot of people saying, I really want to learn more stuff about business and about life and whatever. And they're saying to me, except your course seems like it's a lot of work. All these courses are like a lot of time and I don't have time. How do I do it? So I'm coming up with a way to make it a little bit more of a game, a little more fun, and try to make a way that we can get some an app to me. No, you know why? Let me tell you a problem with apps is that we lose them, right? Tell me how many apps you download and then you forget all about them, LeGrande. Actually, I'm atypical, but most people, you're right. I only download stuff that I'm actually going to use. But you're right. Most people download app after app after app, but they don't use them. That's right. So in my mind, I think that there's a real opportunity to get back the other direction. And so I am looking to make a paper product in 2015. That's all I'll say for that's all he'll say. He's going to make a paper product, which I guarantee you, because this is Chris Brogan, is going to make paper, okay? So we're talking to Chris Brogan, who is the best-selling author of The Freak Shall Inherit the Earth. You can find him at ownermag.com as well. And just to recap, what Chris has given us as advice here is he wants you to identify 3 words that are very meaningful to you to take into the new year. Make a commitment to yourself and look up the definition of manju. service, taking care of your community, and figure out how you can bring that into your new year and into your life right now, today. Thanks, Chris, for coming on Bold.
You make me so happy, LeGrande. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Chris. If you like what you heard, join the conversation at getboldtoday.com. Like us, tweet us, Google Plus us, Instagram us, all this stuff at Get Bold Today. We close as always. Remember, shift happens right where you are. Be the change and get bold today.